is Jets Final Drive, and we are finally coming to you guys after a game. Unfortunately, not after a victory, though, because the Jets fell to the Pittsburgh Steelers 34-32. Old friend Aaron Rodgers tossed 4 touchdowns. Chris Boswell made the longest field goal of his NFL career at 60 yards to send the Jets, or to I guess you could say, ruin Aaron Glenn's coaching debut in a way. There was certainly a lot of good to take from the game. I know Aaron Glenn doesn't want to talk about moral victories, Zach. We're going to get to some silver linings, though, certainly in this show. But does it feel good, man, to actually be doing this after a game? No more like forecasting or foreshadowing or thinking. We literally just have a game to analyze. I'm pumped to do it.
Oh, it's so much better than trying to guess what everything's going to happen, because usually we're wrong about a lot of things. But I will say, like, watching a game, especially in week 1, where the Jets were really good on offense and really bad on defense, that's a new thing for me since I joined the Jets beat. I don't know if you've ever experienced that in your time covering this team, but the offense being the thing carrying the load it's a lot more fun than a defensive struggle, if I'm being honest. Like a 34-32 game is so much more fun to watch than a lot of the games we've had to watch the last 3 years.
Oh, that was fun. That was it. That's the best way, I think, to describe this. Now, I know Jet fans are probably not super happy, but when you think about how things have looked from Adam Gase's 7-9 season, and then his disastrous season that landed them Zach Wilson, and then the 2 years with Zach Wilson leading into Aaron Rodgers, and then just the way that the games have gone, there have been fun moments. There have been positive things, but I don't know if there was ever a game that was as fun to cover or watch or observe than that one, where it legitimately was back and forth. It wasn't a team winning in spite of their quarterback. It was a team that at times was holding a lead by from the Jets' perspective because of their quarterback. And that's where we are going to start this show, Zach, because I said this on our last JFD, where left hand up, after what I saw from Justin Fields in practices, what I saw from Justin Fields in the preseason, I had major reservations about him going into this game. I was worried about what he would look like if the Jets had to put the game on his shoulders, if they were going to ask him to play quarterback, how he was going to do. He exceeded absolutely everything that I could have imagined he could accomplish in this game. He was spectacular, and I don't say that lightly. He did everything you hope to see from a quarterback. And when the Jets originally signed Justin Fields to that 2-year contract, and they committed to him not only for this year, but had some financial incentives to him last year, the reasoning for it, talking to many people over in their building, was that they didn't want to have a Sam Darnold situation. They didn't want to take the gamble on a player in Fields, hoping he was going to turn it around for them, and then all of a sudden have it blow up in their face when, they find the reclamation project, they get the best football out of him, and then he goes signs a $100 million deal with somebody else like Sam did when he bolted from the Vikings to the Seahawks. No, the Jets he was their lottery ticket. They didn't have any grandiose ideas that he would 100% be their franchise quarterback, but if he did, they wanted to have a commitment to him. Zach, I think what we saw from Justin Fields in this opener, it's only one game, absolutely. It was against the Steelers defense that didn't play particularly well. But you saw a quarterback that you can win because of, not in spite of, or not having to cover things. I mean, the statistics for him I thought were tremendous. 16-22, 218 yards, a touchdown, 48 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. But when you actually go into the numbers, when you really analyze specifically how Justin Fields played, it gets better and better and better. He was 9 of 11 for 95 yards when he was blitzed. He was 4 of 8 for 50 yards under pressure. Here's the number that stands out to me more than anything else, though. When there was no play action, because we'll get to the Jets' rushing attack, we'll get to the Jets' run blocking and pass blocking and all that stuff. They were also equally impressive. And the Jets scored 32 points in a loss. You don't say that too often. But when there was no play action, when they just asked Justin Fields to drop back or play from the shotgun and throw the football, 14 of 18, 187 yards and a touchdown. Zach, that is not a player that you mask. That is not an athlete playing quarterback. That is a quarterback playing quarterback. And if you're looking for the biggest silver lining in a loss, and no moral victories, yada, 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 Justin Fields, if this is what's here to stay, if this is the quarterback that he can be with Tanner Engstrand, this is a quarterback that can take the Jets to the playoffs, or at the very bare minimum, have them in the playoff discussion in December. I thought he was that good in the opener, and that is not hyperbole. That is absolutely how I thought. I thought he was tremendous.
All I can think is you've seen so much bad quarterback play in week ones over the years that I don't know if you just breathed for the last 5 minutes as you just espoused all the positives about Justin Fields there. But yeah, I mean, the truth is, like, I mean, to even jump off that sentence I just had, like, if you look back at the debuts of quarterbacks in recent Jets history, they've almost all been bad. Like the last good one, I think Brett Favre had a pretty good debut when he debuted in 2008, but he didn't run the ball. So like Fields had the 2 rushing touchdowns as well. And even if you look at his career, like he's had his ups and downs in his career. He's had some really good games. This was his best game in terms of EPA per attempt in his career. I believe this was the best game he's had in terms of like PFF passing grade. This was the 4th best game he had in terms of adjusted completion percentage. And he was in command of the offense. Like it was like to a degree that, like, to your point, like we try to like make sweeping observations out of camp, and sometimes like our eyes deceive us or something, because like you said, we didn't see him play this well the entire summer. Like there were days he had good days where he was, meticulously working his way up the field, but he took a couple shots downfield, like the throw to Garrett Wilson. I know you'll take Garrett Wilson one-on-one all day, but he threw that perfectly. And more impressively was, he had a throw to Jeremy Ruckert that was a laser and a dime for a first down on 3rd down. And he had the play to Tyler Johnson where he got out of the pocket, got away from TJ Watt. He's like on the move throwing the ball. It was a risky play. The corner was right there, and he threw it perfectly to where only Tyler Johnson could get it. And it was 20-something yards for a first down. So, I think this is the high end of what you hoped for with Justin Fields. For him to come out in week 1 and do it, like, they have a lot of things we're going to go over that I have concerns about, but like at the bare minimum, if Justin Fields is playing like this, even 75% of this, frankly, like you're going to be in most games, even if they're not going to, this team is still probably not going to win 10 games with a lot of their concerns I have. But like if you have Justin Fields in there, they're going to be in it every week. They have this running game and the offensive line opening up holes. Like it was a combination that, again, you've covered the Jets longer than me, but like, having a quarterback just in command of the offense, accurate, making all the right decisions, combined with an offensive line both opening up holes for the running game and keeping him clean. Like he has the ability to get away from pass rushers, but there weren't that many of them. Like he was not getting pressure much until the end. That last drive was a problem, and that's something to talk about with him. Like when they needed to get it, the offense kind of fell apart a little bit. But
I can't even fault him for that, man. He threw a ball.
They scored 32 points. Like as Sauce Gardner said last night, he basically was like, how many times? Like that never happened since I've been here. Like it's always been us trying to carry the load. And so this changes things for the Jets. And that's why I think you were kind of with me. Like I feel pretty optimistic coming out of the game entirely because of Justin Fields, because the biggest questions we had were around the quarterback position. And so if that's better, I know the schedule these next couple weeks is tough, but like for over a course of a full season, if this is the Justin Fields you have, then I feel a little better about this team's ceiling.
Well, you feel better, Zach, because he played quarterback. Like that's the thing, is that we knew Justin Fields as an athlete. So like the bootleg touchdown that he scored to get the Jets to 32 points, like he can do that. Some of the scrambles they had, I think he had a 15-yard scamper. He can do that. There was the play in the red zone before they got to the 1st and goal where he kind of like booted around the outside for 6, then they gave it to Hall for 2, and then eventually like the quarterbacks, you knew he could do that because he's the athlete that he is. But he played quarterback against the Steelers. He was not an athlete out there. He wasn't a one read and run. How many times did we see him move within the pocket, extend the play, but he's buying his receivers time? His eyes never went downfield. I covered the Giants as well, and so many times when that rush was getting to Russell Wilson, the Commanders' rush was getting to Russell Wilson, his eyes are down and he's staring at the rush. That's not what Fields was doing. He was moving within the confines of the pocket. By the way, this offense we're talking about him being in control of, 3rd offense in as many years for Justin Fields, and he looks as home as he's ever been. The throw to Tyler Johnson and Reynolds over the middle where he's literally moving within the pocket, then sidearming. Like there were a couple times I'm like, okay, Fields is going to run for 3, 4, maybe 5 yards. No, pulls it back and throws. And I know the play that ended where Jalen Ramsey just absolutely walloped Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
I went back and watched it. There were 3 Pittsburgh Steelers on 4th and 3 standing at the line when Justin Fields was still 3 yards behind it. So he basically would have had to run 9 yards, 6 to 9 yards in order to get the first down and also evade 3 defenders that are just standing at that line. Instead, he pivots. He sees Garrett Wilson wide open. I wouldn't go as far as to say it was a hospital ball. I would go as far as to say that was a damn good play by a future Hall of Famer in Jalen Ramsey to just absolutely wallop Garrett Wilson and dislodge the ball. That was the right call when I watched it back on film. I mean, again, we can criticize the final drive. We can criticize the the one before the final drive where the Jets went 3 and out. And they just got stuffed, I think, 2 or 3 yards short. But still, they scored 32 points. You had a quarterback who was, again, how many times do we see the accuracy problems in camp, Zach? He completed over 72% of his passes. And it got to the point where on those final couple drives, it wasn't, oh, there's under 2 minutes to go, there's under 3 minutes to go, the Jets can't run the ball. It was, no, Breece Hall had a tremendous game. Forget him. Put the ball in Justin Fields' hands. And I can't wait to see what he does now against the Bills, whose defense does not look very good. And moving forward over these next couple games, because there is such encouragement from this outing that I don't think that it's luck. I like what Fields was doing. I don't think, like, when we watch Zach Wilson, and we can go back to the fourth quarter in Pittsburgh, there was luck elements to it. There was flukiness to it. There was broken plays, like the touchdown to Corey Davis against the Titans, where it's like, that's not replicable. That's not something you can do over and over again. Fields, he looked a lot like Jalen Hurts, in my opinion. The way that Hurts was playing when his career really started to turn around with the Philadelphia Eagles, before he became a literal almost MVP. But like right when he started turning around with Philly, that's how Fields looked. And I don't know how you step away from it and don't go like, damn, like the Jets might have something here. Like for the first time in a long time, I genuinely believe that. I'm not saying there's something there, but there might be something there, and it's certainly worth watching over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's always important to do the week one caveat because there's always weird stuff that happens in week one. And, you know, if you think about it, this is the first time defenses are seeing Justin Fields in this offense. It's the first time they're seeing Tanner Engstrand's play tendencies. So, like, I'm not ready to jump and say he's going to be this every week, but
I'm not either. I'm not either. I don't want to.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not saying you are. I'm just like a broadly, but it's very encouraging. And, you know, to your point, like the luck kind of ran out at the end. Like they had a very Jetsian end to this game in a lot of ways, which we're going to go over. And kind of they lost this game because of like 9 different small things that happened, which is what happened last year. It just felt less dramatic maybe as it was happening because it was so easy to pinpoint why they lost this game. But, you know, Aaron Rodgers was able to go down the field where he wasn't able to do that at all last year, even though there was by the way, there was a lot of luck on that last drive for Aaron Rodgers too. But
I would say that, and you brought up Aaron Rodgers, and we would be very remiss if we did not discuss his return to MetLife Stadium, his return against the New York Jets. 22 of 30 passing, I think is what I just, 22 of 30 passing, 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions for the former Jets quarterback. Gets the last laugh, but Zach, I'm going to be totally honest. You know I like Aaron a lot. Like I had a really good relationship with him. I hope he does have success in Pittsburgh. I did not come away from this game watching Aaron Rodgers and being like, oh man, the Jets made a huge mistake letting him go. And this is not because of, in no way, shape, or form am I saying that because of what Justin Fields did. You could have, like, say Justin Fields played horrible. I still wouldn't have watched Aaron Rodgers and be like, oh man, the Jets really screwed up, because there were some pretty bad throws from Rodgers. A near interception by Brandon Stevens that could have flipped this game on its head. There was, again, just Aaron Rodgers was given the opportunity, like he was given 5 times a year ago. I believe it was 5 times a year ago to drive down the field and win the game for the New York Jets, and he went 0 for 5 basically last year. He was given that opportunity with Pittsburgh, and it took a fluky play to get them to a yard line where they needed their kicker to kick a field goal that he has never kicked in his entire career. And shout out to Boswell, he did it. He made a 60-yarder, but like that wasn't a hat tip for Aaron Rodgers. And if you look at the 4 touchdowns that he threw, I didn't see any of them being real dimes. Guys were open in the Jets secondary, which is another problem to have. But I didn't really come away from this one thinking, oh, man, Aaron Rodgers really stuck it to the Jets, or, oh, man, the Jets are so terrified and mortified that they let Aaron Rodgers out of the building. I mean, he had a good day. The guy threw 4 touchdowns. There were only 8 incompletions. But I genuinely didn't come away from this one being like, oh, God, the Jets screwed this one up. I don't know how you feel.
Well, I was hoping you would go the other way so I could say that's a stupid opinion, but you wound up saying the right opinion. So, but yeah, you know, to your point, all 4 touchdowns had busted coverage on them. He had 2 dropped interceptions, one from Michael Carter II, another from Brandon Stevens late in the game. We're going to get into Brandon Stevens later, but that would have been a game changer. He had the lucky play with DK Metcalf where it bobbled off DK Metcalf, bobbed off another Steeler, and somehow landed in DK Metcalf's arms on the ground, the only catch Sauce gave up. And there was a 30-yard screen to DK, I believe. Yeah, it was DK, where Tony Adams had one of the worst approaches to try and tackle somebody I've seen in a long time. Maybe since Aston Davis against Jonathan Taylor a few years ago, if you remember that one. But it was a bad approach by Tony. But anyway, the point being, like, Rodgers looked old in the pocket. when the Jets got to him, which they did a decent amount, he could not get out of he could not move. Like, he looked like an old man, which he is. Ultimately, I think he's fine as like a game manager at this point. I don't think he's as, he didn't come in here and get revenge on the Jets, in my opinion, because I don't think they won necessarily because of him. I think the Jets lost this game. I don't think the Steelers won, obviously, but I think the Jets gave this game up ultimately, and we're going to get into a lot of the reasons why. But Rodgers was fine. I wasn't impressed. I thought Fields had a better quarterbacking game overall.
Yeah, I agree. I'll be honest with you, Zach. I think that Aaron Rodgers' best performance came after the game, and that was when he gave his podium. And shout out to Brian Costello for asking the questions. There were a couple of the questions that we're about to run now with Rodgers' post-game quotes on the Jets.
Organization didn't think I could play anymore, so it was nice to remind those people that I still can.
You spoke about the meeting with Aaron Glenn on McAfee a few months ago. Beating him, is there significance in that, since he basically told you to your face that he didn't think you were right for that team?
Yes, that's what he did.
So there's significance in beating him for you?
I was happy to beat everybody associated with the Jets.
I'm going to be honest with you. There's two sides to this equation, because I know our good buddy Connor Rodgers was talking about this on the Jets post game show on SNY. The Jets, and Rodgers was right in this, the Jets did everything they could, especially year one, to make this successful with Aaron Rodgers, and probably even more so in year two. They brought in his friends. They brought in, Alan Lazard is literally still employed and probably has a job in the NFL because of Aaron Rodgers. They brought in, who was Billy Turner, the offensive tackle, who was terrible. They brought in Randall Cobb basically out of a retirement home. They did a number. They brought in an offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, who is probably the worst offensive coordinator I've ever seen with my eyes, and stuck with him for 2 years and ran the exact offense that Aaron. They bent over backwards for this guy, and Rodgers certainly played some too. He chose the Jets, he took the pay cut, all that stuff, but the Jets bent over backwards for him during his 2 years here, and then even like in year two where things were going south. They go out there and they trade for Hassan Reddick to get a more pass rusher. They go out there and they get Devontae Adams. They did everything they could for Rodgers, and it didn't work, and they decided to go in their opposite direction. So, I don't think Aaron has gripes with that process, but I do think he can be very annoyed and very frustrated with the way that his relationship with owner Woody Johnson completely and totally deteriorated that final year with the Jets. They were basically not on speaking terms by the end of the time with this. And then when Aaron Glenn comes in here, Aaron flies across the country, and as he talked about on the McAfee show, basically tells him, hey, it's great. Yeah, great news. You want to play. Ain't going to be here, buddy. We're moving on. He felt disrespected. The guy is going to be a Hall of Famer, and no matter how you look at it, whatever side, Aaron Glenn disrespected him. It was a disrespectful meeting, the way that thing played out, Aaron Glenn, Aaron Rodgers. There were probably 100 better ways to go about it than what the Jets did and what Aaron Glenn did. There was a better way to do it. Sitting down, look, man, I think we just want to turn a page, move in another chapter. We appreciate everything you did. Not just being like, we're going in another direction, peace. That's what he was pissed about. That's what Aaron Rodgers is mad about. So I don't think there's anything he can be frustrated with, the process to get here. It's more just the way that it ended and the disrespect that he perceived, that now he felt pretty good sticking it to Aaron Glenn and Woody Johnson.
Yeah, I don't think it's as big of a deal how he handled it. Obviously, he could have been maybe a little more respectful. He flew across country to do this. He had a private plane. I think it was very luxurious, and he didn't have to fly. His whole thing was he wanted it to be face to face. So they could have done this over the phone, and then he would have criticized them for doing it over the phone. So that whole thing is all overblown, and I'm happy we can move forward now and not talk about Aaron Rodgers anymore. I'm sure it'll come up, but
the AFC Championship game probably.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought Aaron Rodgers' funniest comment he had to me, which was the most Aaron Rodgers comment, was I think he was asked something about the environment, and he was like, "Well, it was better 2 years ago in 2023." It's true, it was better when he ran out of the tunnel 2 years ago. But he can't help but be like, it was better when I was the one running out of the tunnel. The crowd was way better back then. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that.
Yeah. But I agree that I think we're finally done with it, and it's. Aaron was right to be pissed. He gets the last laugh, but I honestly think the Jets are in a much better position now than they ever were with Aaron Rodgers. And Joe Caporoso, who's been a part of this show before, I thought made a great point. You flip the quarterbacks, put Aaron Rodgers on the Jets, Justin Fields on the Steelers, and I don't think the score is different. I don't think Aaron Rodgers beats the Steelers. In fact, I think that the loss is probably more significant than what it was. I do genuinely believe that. All right, we're going to move on, but before we do, we appreciate everywhere, I should say, that you guys are watching us, whether that is Facebook. I love the Facebook followers more than probably anything else. X, if you're watching us on here, or the best place to watch us, and I stress this all the time when we're watching this show, it is YouTube. So if you're watching us on Facebook, sny.tv, or X, why don't you click the little YouTube link, search for Jets Final Drive, and watch us there. The big reason why it's awesome there is we have a live chat running throughout the duration of this show. You can interact. Jeff Goldman, our executive producer, is back there monitoring that chat for me to see if any cool questions, any cool comments, any cool concerns are brought up. We're going to take probably a handful of those midway through the show, just rapid fire answer your guys' questions on it. But it's a cool thing because you can interact with Zach and us live. We're coming to you live. You can chat with us live, and we'll try to take a couple of those questions as well. So wherever you guys are watching us, Facebook, sny.tv, X, why don't you come on over to YouTube just so you can take advantage of that chat and interact with us live throughout the show. Again, we appreciate everyone watching, but YouTube is definitely the place to be. All right, this was the coaching debut for Aaron Glenn, Zach, and I came away pretty impressed with him. The Jets certainly had energy. The Jets certainly fought. The Jets certainly were amped up. They didn't roll over when the Steelers started coming back. They very well could have after the Xavier Gibson fumble. Unfortunately for the Jets, a lot of the negative things that we've talked about ad nauseum over the last couple of years were there. And I know Aaron Glenn spoke today, and he brushed off or highlighted the fact there weren't a lot of pre-snap penalties. Okay, yeah, but there was still a lot of boneheaded ones, specifically the one on Quincy Williams, which directly extended a Steelers drive that ended in a touchdown. The one that John Simpson, which I know he's defending his quarterback, but the Jets were trying to get in field goal range to at least try one there. That hurt him. And then the turnover, the Xavier Gibson turnover. I mean, the self-inflicted wounds have sunk this team as long as I can remember, and to see them rear their ugly head again, it's that same old Jets moniker, but I don't want to say it's the same old Jets, but I will say that the Jets found a way to lose a game again.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to why I think there's more of a split coming out of that game than I think you maybe would have seen in the past, because they lost a game they should have won because of making dumb mistakes. You know, I know he said there wasn't a lot of pre-snap penalties, but they also had a defensive penalty where they had too many men on the field, which is one I imagine he was not very happy about as well. And, you know, the Quincy one and the Xavier Gibson fumble was the hardest thing to overcome, frankly, and because it put the Steelers right in prime field position, and then Rodgers quickly hit a wide open guy for a touchdown, and that kind of changed the game. But yeah, you know, I came away cautiously optimistic about Glenn. I think there were some things I disagreed with, like, you know, I understood the decision to go for two when they got the penalty and they were at the 1 yard line in the first half. Didn't love the play call. They did a lot of out of shotgun runs, which didn't really work for me, and Braylon Allen got stuffed. And then when they ran the 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter, they called timeout because he said he didn't like the look they had, and he wanted to get a play that was more likely to work. But the running game was working so well. Justin Fields had just scored on that bootleg where he walked into the end zone, and they called a fade to Garrett Wilson in the corner where 3 defensive backs were there, and it wasn't even close. So I didn't love those play calls, even if I understood the decisions. And they only had one timeout at the end, which isn't ideal. And you know, that last drive didn't work out. You know, there was issues. Breece Hall said there was miscommunication between the offensive line and the running backs, which led to Fields being a little pressured a little more, and then he made some bad decisions, I think. So there's a lot to clean up, but the Aaron Glenn of it all, I think we're going to find out what he's made of in these coming days, because the Bills are not an easy team to follow up a loss like that. And we're going to see how he's going to correct a lot of their mistakes. Is Xavier Gibson going to be a returner? What's he going to do on the back end to fix a lot of the problems back there? And so this is the week where we find out what kind of coach Aaron Glenn is, in my mind.
Well, I think so, and a big reason why. I mean, this clip that we're about to run from Glenn after the game, I think that this was the one that stood out more to me than anything else.
Man, we can't have turnovers. We can't do it. We have to be a more disciplined team, right? There were some penalties that happened in that game that was true discipline issues. And, again, that's something that will be addressed, because you will not be on the field with this team if you're going to cause us to lose games. You're going to cause issues like that. So we will get that addressed, and we got to continue to work.
I'm fascinated to see how this plays out because Xavier Gibson's an easy one to bench. Like you saw it. Like even when Arian Smith returned the last kickoff for the Jets, like there's some spark, there's some options there. Quincy Williams had a really bad penalty. Are you really going to bench Quincy Williams? Like John Simpson had a really bad penalty. Are you really going to bench John Simpson? Like Brian Costello pointed this out actually after Simpson's penalty, where he was like the one where he was defending Justin Fields. Aaron Glenn was going like this, like basically get him off the field, get him off the field. I'm done, get him off the field. And I think someone talked to him like, dude, you realize that if we take John Simpson off the field, we're putting Xavier Newman on it, right? And then I was like, okay, yeah, put John Simpson out there. Like there's a method to the madness. Like you want to have discipline, but you can't just keep taking some of your best players off it. Like you're a far, far better team with Quincy Williams on the field than not. I will say that Glenn's debut, I like the aggressiveness. I did. I have no problem with the timeout before the 2-point attempt because you want to get your right play. I love that once there was the special teams penalty, he sent the guys back on there for go for two. I liked all that stuff. The coach that I was most impressed with, Zach, was Tanner Engstrand. And we actually had a comment immediately from the chat from Chris Murphy asking if Tanner Engstrand is the Jets' best offensive coordinator since Charlie Weiss. I would say I think there's more hype around Tanner Engstrand right now than any offensive coordinator since Michael Floor. Like, I genuinely do believe that. And a big reason for that is we just sang Justin Fields' praises a lot. And Justin Fields deserves an absolute ton of credit, no doubt about that. I thought one of the reasons Fields had so much success is because of the number of times that the receivers he was throwing to, Zach, were wide open. Right? 16 of 22, we talked about Justin Fields going. Only 2 of those completions were contested catches. 2. That means 14 were just to open players. Those receivers were open because they were schemed open. Tanner Engstrand saw the defense and used route concepts to get guys open. That, to me, is the most promising. And we said this going into the game. I genuinely feel the Jets are at a point with Tanner where they're going to have some innovation again. They have not had that since Michael Floor. We saw it already here. You can see it because of that metric there. When wide receivers aren't having to go make these insane 50-50 balls, and that's going to come. You're going to want to see that sometimes because you have these special players. But when you have guys just making catches because they're open, that's on the OC. Jeremy Rucker, Tyler Johnson, shout out to them. They were the 2 that had those catches.
Yeah, I mean, they're using a lot of pre-snap motion. I think the running game was really adept. You know what? Justin Fields, the play I alluded to earlier where he had the bootleg and he was wide open, he said they didn't even plan on using that play this week. And Tanner Engstrand basically told him to keep it yourself. And that was an adjustment in the moment because of something they saw. And, you know, there's been a lot of poor offensive coordinators, a lot of bad play calling here. Even LaFleur had his bumps. I don't think he was perfect by any stretch, especially when Zach Wilson was in there. But, you know, again, one game, it's opposition that didn't have any really film on Tanner Engstrand, but this was highly encouraging. It's a little bit of what we saw throughout the summer. Like, whatever Fields was doing, you could see them being creative, getting receivers out of the backfield, doing a lot of pre-snap motion, using tight ends, using a fullback. Like, they're trying different things, and that's a step up from what was going on with Nate Hackett the last couple of years. And even you just look at the way they were avoiding TJ Watt. Like, they were running to the opposite side. And so, the run blocking was really good on the left side. I think 77 of Breece Hall's rushing yards were behind Olu and John Simpson on the left side. And if you just look at all the plays, they were often going away from where TJ Watt was because that's where you had to attack. Whereas, we alluded to this a couple weeks ago, but like when they played the Cowboys and Micah Parsons in 23, they were leaving Dwayne Brown on an island with Micah Parsons, and they were not doing plays away from him. So
Nathaniel Hackett was horrendous.
He was. But again, so it's a low bar, so everybody thinks Tanner Engstrand is, the best thing since sliced bread. But we need to see it consistently against good defenses. The Bills might not be a good defense, but Sean McDermott is a good play caller on defense. He's creative, and he's given the Jets offense some trouble over the years. The Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, their defense looks really good. The Dolphins are a mess. You go to you're playing the Broncos. They have probably the best defense in the NFL. So there's some challenges coming up. You need to work around having not really many receivers outside of Garrett Wilson that are a threat. So the first week was highly, highly encouraging, but we need to see more of it for sure.
Totally agree. This is Jets Final Drive. He's Zach. I'm Connor. Thank you guys for joining another episode of the show. If you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching us on SNY.TV, if you're watching us on X, we appreciate you. We love you. But the one thing we stress all the time on this show, best place to watch us is YouTube, because there is a live comment section there for you to interact with both of us and our executive producer, Jeff Goldman, all throughout the show. So wherever you guys are watching us, thank you. But if you want to come on over to YouTube, the experience there is so much better. Zach, moving on here. I'm looking forward to this topic. It is overreaction, underreaction. Little rapid fire here on JFD. Gonna hit you with some topics just right away. Overreaction, underreaction, and really quick as to why. The first one, we've touched upon this a lot, and I think this does kind of go right into what we're saying here. Justin Fields is actually a legitimate quarterback. Overreaction, underreaction.
I think it's an overreaction because it's too early, but I'm getting there. Like if he does this against the Bills, then we're going to be talking about him as a legitimate quarterback.
Overreaction only because we need a larger sample size. And I say, if this is if Justin Fields that we saw yesterday is here to stay, that Justin Fields can be the Jets quarterback for the next 10 years and take this team to the playoff year after year after year. I genuinely believe he's that good, but we just have to see more of it. We got to see a little bit more of it. Remember, the Steelers played no one in the preseason. All right, second one. Breece Hall belongs in the conversation for top 5 running backs. Overreaction, underreaction.
Again, I'd say overreaction, but he showed me a lot. Like he had one of his best games he's had in a long time. I wrote down he averaged 4.74 yards after contact, and he was going against like the 4th highest stacked box in the NFL this week, and he still rushed for over 100 yards. So I think we were maybe a little too down on him. I think we probably need to raise our right hand on that one. We'll find out for sure in the coming weeks. But top 5 right now, I'd say overreaction.
I'm going to say underreaction. I think that's valid. I think what we saw from Breece Hall is as much as you can ask. You saw some game-changing ability. You saw, more importantly, Zach, you saw a willingness to get the tough yards. That's what you haven't seen from Breece the last couple of years. If it wasn't a home run, he wanted nothing to do with it. That's what he was trying to hit. He was like Ryan Howard back in the day. What we saw was a complete running back against the Steelers. And if, again, we got to see more of it. We don't want to keep seeing it. But, again, going off that, that's an underreaction. He's absolutely top 5 running back. He's got home run ability, can get the tough yards, and also can catch out of the backfield. That's huge. All right, next one. This Jets defense isn't elite. It's middle of the pack at best. Overreaction, underreaction.
I'd say underreaction because it feels to me like this is not an elite defense. But, like, their top-end talent is quite good. I thought the D-line played really well. I thought Sauce Gardner played really well. The linebackers were not great in coverage, and there were some missed tackles on the back end and the safety struggle and Brandon Stevens and all that. But it can be a solid defense, but I think the ceiling of this defense is maybe lower than it was the last couple of years.
Yeah, I underreaction, I guess, would mean that this is a true statement, right? Yeah. Underreaction. So I'm going to say underreaction. I think it's probably middle of the pack. I think they have very good players. I think they have a very good pass rush, but their weaknesses are going to be amplified. Their safeties are not very good. You can survive not good safeties if you have elite-level corners like the Jets had previously with DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. Brandon Stevens is a major question mark on the outside, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. Michael Carter struggled a lot in the nickel role, too. Sauce Gardner literally shut down DK Metcalf for the entire game, and you had guys like Calvin Austin, who I've never heard of before, lighting up the Jets. So, yeah, I think that one is an underreaction, absolutely, for that team. I think the Jets could have an issue there on defense. All right, next one. The Jet fan should take the moral victory and be happy with progress. Overreaction, underreaction.
I'm going to, I guess underreaction we're saying is you agree with it. So I'm going to say underreaction. I know Jets fans don't want to hear about moral victories this time of the year. It's the cliche of all time. But, you know, in the past, I've been accused of being too negative, and I feel like I'm one of the only ones being, like, positive right now because I feel like they showed some stuff that you could feel good about. If they fall to 0-2 next week and they play poorly against the Bills, then you could start, like, you know, getting mad at Aaron Glenn or whatever. But I think it's okay to feel optimistic even in a loss because they showed things they haven't. Like, this was a different look of a Jets team, I would say.
Jet fans take the moral victory. Like I said, I cover the Giants too. Brian Dable is trying to speak positively about the team being 14-6 against the Washington Commanders when the Commanders continually shot themselves in the foot and the Giants finished the game without a touchdown. Like they're boasting in across town about the fact they were in the red zone. That's a moral victory that you want absolutely no parts of. Your offense, which has been so anemic the last couple of years, dropping 32 points and looking and showing signs like you might have an option there at quarterback, real signs you have an option at quarterback. I think a moral victory, silver lining, whatever you want to call it, I think it's absolutely justified there. All right, final one here, Zach, and I want absolutely no part about this. Overreaction, underreaction. You being a little weasel in the press box after the game.
That's not what it says.
Because I wanted to talk
You're reading
to you.
you're reading it wrong. That's not what it says.
No, that's what it says right here. There's a lot of commas and dashes and all this stuff. But me just trying to have a conversation with my friend after the game and stand next to you, arm over your shoulder, and you getting all pissy about it. So I want to know if that's a total overreaction, underreaction. Overreaction.
I'm not going to respond to the things you said, but what I will say is, I know you got to TV and you forgot what it's like to really focus on your writing, but when I get in the zone and I'm writing my story after a game, I don't really want to be disturbed. And then first,
all right, Michael.
First, there's 50 tables in this room, and you like to sit down at the one I'm sitting at, even though there's 49 other tables available. It's your recurring bit that you think's oh, it's so funny. And then the other thing is I'm writing, I'm finally in a groove. And you come and stand up behind me, hey, what are you writing? What's your lead? Hey, what do you got there? I want to compare our leads. I'm like, dude, leave me alone. And you're like, wow, somebody's pissy. And so anyway, I prompted this as I would be justified in murdering you, but I think that's probably, I guess, a little too far. So maybe I wouldn't be justified in murder.
Probably not. I think, but look, we're all little.
But I think people would defend me, though. People would defend me. That's the important thing.
Well, that's just because they don't like me, but that's fine. It depends. It's a contingent of Jet fans will be all on you. All right, you're real defensive of your articles and your little space, your safe
transition.
Space. You were in your zone. You were on a heater. You were about to heat.
I didn't say that.
You're writing some words you never heard.
I didn't say it was good. I didn't even say the story was good, but I was in the zone.
Yeah, in the zone. Yeah, all right, okay. Yeah. All right, next topic we're going to get to, Zach, and it was probably most alarming thing that we've seen today, and you can take this one first. Defense was a problem. I mean, this was an issue. We were talking about the Jets having uncontested catches and Tanner Engstrand scheming guys open. Arthur Smith was scheming receivers I have not heard of open all the time. Guys running wide open in the secondary, missed tackles, dumb penalties like the one on Quincy Williams. Shout out pass rush, Jermaine Johnson with his rushes, Will McDonald, Quinnen Williams got there, but defense as a whole was bad. This defense looked bad, and I don't think the Steelers' offense is all that great, which amplifies how bad the Jets looked.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the pass defense, the coverage was as bad as it was, is alarming and if you want to, for the people who are throwing water on the Aaron Glenn coach of the game, it's because he's supposed to be defensive coach, in quotes, and he's a defensive back and all that stuff. And he did a great job with the Lions defensive backs developing those guys. And the defensive backs just played poorly. Like I said, the Tony Adams missed tackle was awful. Michael Carter II had a really bad one. There was a lot of miscommunication on the back end, it looked like. Aaron Glenn didn't address it specifically. And then Brandon Stevens, this is every year we have these lessons coming out of training camp where somebody looks really, really good in camp, and that just does not translate to the season. And this is only one game, but Brandon Stevens showed a lot of what he showed in Baltimore. He's targeted 7 times. He gave up 5 catches, 2 touchdowns allowed. He dropped the interception, which would have basically won the game for the Jets in the fourth quarter. And, there was the catch that Calvin Austin made against him down the sideline where it was a great catch by Calvin Austin, and he might have had it anyway, but Brandon Stevens never turned his head around. And that was the biggest question mark for him coming out of Baltimore, where he gave up the second most passing yards in the NFL last year among corners. And a lot of that was, the word on him was he was great in coverage, really tight coverage, but he just could not get his head around and make a play on the ball. And we saw that over and over and over again on Sunday. And, I think it's too quick to say they need to bench him right away. I've seen a lot of that put in Azariah Thomas. And I don't know where you stand on that. I think that's kind of ridiculous. Azariah, I think, has a lot of talent and a lot of potential. The guy missed most of training camp. And he's a guy that was drafted as a project. So, everybody take a breath. The odds that AZ Thomas will go in there and be a huge improvement right away are slim. He needs the reps for sure, but the idea that they need to bench Brandon Stevens right now is a little overdone. That's a week 1 overreaction that we didn't include in there because we both, I think the same thing. But I believe in this coaching staff's ability to get the most out of defensive backs. Tony Adams, I'd be more okay with benching right now because I think Malachi Moore showed a little more readiness in the preseason. And Tony Adams, this is what he showed for the Jets last year. Missed tackles, some mistakes in coverage, and he's probably ultimately better as a third safety as opposed to somebody who played 100% of the defensive snaps.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers are bad. Did you read them off yet? Did you read off the numbers?
Yeah, the ones that were on the screen a little bit ago, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't listen when I talk. It's fine.
That's fine. I was looking at. We got another question in the chat that I was about to take, but like those numbers, and Michael Carter was bad too. Like the Carter got targeted 4 times, allowed 3 completions for 34 yards. Basically, the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers was like, okay, where's Sauce? Yeah, let's just go everywhere else. So that's an issue. This is actually a pretty interesting question asked here in the chat though by K Delgado 62. Which is, have you looked into zone failures or man coverage failures in the secondary? I think that's all stuff the Jets are going to get to. Like, if you're going to start wildly adjusting the scheme, I don't think this is like they had Sauce playing out of, like they need to go to a zone cover now or they have to do more of I don't think it was anything like that. I think just Stevens had a bad game. There were times where he was in position to make plays, man. Like he was in position to make plays. He got a little handsy once that led to the DPI. He didn't catch the ball, which would have been a pick 6 or at the minimum, an interception was putting the Jets in tremendous territory. Like there were a couple times he just didn't turn his head around. And unfortunately, any Raven fan who would be listening to Jets' final drive is like, haha, heard that one. Like, because that was his issue in Baltimore. And like the Jets are hoping they can fix it, hoping it can get better. But I think that's one that's going to be probably an issue moving forward. We did talk real quickly here, Zach, about the pass rush. Just some numbers here to look at. Will McDonald had a 21.1% win rate. Like, that's wild. Like, that is a really good day. Quinnen Williams, super active again, a sack, 2 hits, 2 additional hurries, according to Pro Football Focus. Quinnen Williams is one that the Jets might want to take care of him pretty soon because he's out of guaranteed money on his contract next year. He has been the quintessential leader and soldier for this team, just doing everything right. A dominant force in the middle of their defense. Take care of the guy. Like, adjust the contract, add some more guaranteed money, something like that, because he's a guy in Quinnen that you really want to keep happy. And also, one note here, Jermaine Johnson didn't get on the stat sheet in terms of like sacks or big quarterback hits. Did have 3 hurries. He played 89% of the snaps, Jermaine Johnson did, which coming off that Achilles injury, which he suffered week 2, right? Wasn't it the Titan game in week 2? He suffered it last year. Pretty good sign that he was playing 89% of the snaps. And Quinnen Williams on the field a ton. So that whole rotation that we were talking about, I think it was almost 100% of the defensive snaps Quinnen Williams played. That whole rotation that Aaron White Cotton and Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich had with their defensive line looks like that's a thing of the past. The Jets are going to play their best players a ton.
I will say that Will McDonald only played 55%. I think I noticed them taking him off the field a little bit on the running plays. So like I think, and I will say Harrison Phillips and Juwan Briggs. There's clearly a difference with those guys in the run. Like they shut down the running game. I don't think the Steelers running backs are that scary, but I thought that the Jets D line was good. I didn't think the linebackers had the best games overall. Their coverage was a little poor as well. So the coverage is the main concern right now. If they fix like even 50% of that, then they're in good shape.
Yeah, no, the run defense you mentioned, 20 rushes, 53 yards, 2.6 yards per carry. Real quick note on Will McDonald coming out in run situations. I know the Jets talked about how he gained weight or he showed up to camp 20 pounds heavier. I talked to a source actually from the Jets a year ago, like the Robert Saleh's last year as head coach. Will McDonald showed up to camp the exact same weight his final year with that staff as he showed up to camp with Eric Glenn. The problem with Will McDonald is his metabolism is the one that I wish he had, where unless he's eating like 8,000 calories a day, he's not going to keep that weight on. So Will McDonald right now weighs literally what Will McDonald has always weighed. Like, it's not like he's this 30-pound heavier guy who can now set an edge. So that's why you're going to see Michael Clemens in there a ton. Sauce Gardner, Zach, for the first time really traveled for the field or traveled with the opponent's number 1. He's been asking to do that. I saw him in the locker room actually before he spoke, and I went up to him and I was like, how was traveling? He laughed and he goes, the only thing that mother effer caught was one that was deflected in the air that I popped up and it landed in his hand. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that, probably more often when the opposition has a legitimate number 1 receiver. Like the Bills coming to town, I don't think you need Sauce to travel with Keon Coleman. Like, I don't think you need to do that. But I think that you're going to see that when they play some of the best and there's a legitimate number 1 wideout out there, Sauce is going to be with him, and I think that's the right thing. The guy's, he's so good, Zach. Like, Sauce Gardner's so good at football, and it's good that people are seeing that again.
Yeah, I mean, look at the numbers. Like, DK Metcalf had 3 catches for, I think, like 70-something yards when he wasn't on Sauce, and when he was, Sauce held him to 1 catch for 11 yards, and it was that BS catch. I thought all offseason this defense was a great fit for him. Man coverage, you're going to get him a chance to go up guys. And DK Metcalf is a mismatch for a lot of corners because he's so big and athletic and strong. And Sauce did well, and Sauce actually did a pretty good job tackling too. Like, that's a big point of contention for him. And you want to see him get some interceptions. It's only 1 game, and I'm sure Rodgers was avoiding whenever Sauce was on that whatever side of the field he was on. I think he was probably avoiding it, but you feel really good about Sauce, and if these other corners can even level up to DJ Reed's level, you feel a lot better about the secondary because Sauce dominated. I mean, he had I don't know. I think we might have a clip of Sauce. I'm not positive, but if we don't, he had.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. Okay, we should throw that clip because he was funny.
The Metcalf catch on the last drive where it like hit his hands, went up in the air, and someone caught it. I mean, when a play like that happens, and then they end up, that play was maybe they don't get that play, they don't get in field goal range. I mean, how?
I mean, I was pissed because when you're a competitor and you got a job to travel with somebody, you don't want them to catch the ball at all. So, it just so happened that was his only catch, and it just so happened that was the catch to get them closer to field goal range and stuff like that. So I didn't like it. Yeah.
One of my favorite things about Sauce is he can't help but smile because he knew how good of a job he did. He was doing throughout his press conference, and he was later asked directly about traveling with DK, and he's like, you know how it is, or he know how it is because he shut him down, and he just can't help himself because in his defense, people are constantly giving him crap and acting like he's overrated and all this stuff. So I think he likes to point out when he did his job, while also acknowledging that yes, the catch was all luck, but it was a key moment in the game that led to the 60-yard field goal. So it was it was the kind of game you want to see from him, especially if he had such a down year that everybody says to bounce back in this way. He's going to, like you said, he's going to get chances next week, maybe not, but week 3, you got Mike Evans. Week 4, you got Tyreek Hill. You got, Cortland Sutton coming up. They play a bunch of teams with top receivers. So they play the Bengals, so they're going to be Jamar Chase. So he's going to have a lot of chances this year to show that he deserves the money he just got. And he is off to a great start going against the quarterback who kind of knows his tendencies, and he still shut him down. So
Chase versus Sauce is going to be fun, man. Chase versus Sauce is going to be really fun. Have another YouTube comment. This one from Dan Bowder. He said that during your heat streak with your lead, Zach, he's surprised that I wasn't at the buffet instead of bothering you, Zach.
Amen, brother.
I will say that the Jets don't serve post-game food, so that's why I was bothering Zach. Otherwise, I absolutely would have been in line for the ice cream. All right, but thank you guys so much for listening to Jets Final Drive. Say this throughout the show. Say it again. Appreciate anywhere you guys are watching us from. Facebook, SNY.TV, X as well. If you guys want to watch the best, or if you guys want the best viewing experience, though, it's absolutely over on YouTube. If you got a smart TV, you can stream us up on there while also having your tablet or smartphone out, because there is a live comment section in the chat on YouTube, so you can interact with us all throughout the show, which we absolutely love. Let's go back to the offense for a little bit here, Zach. We talked a ton about Justin Fields. We don't have to go back into that. Spoke a little bit in the overreaction, underreaction about Breece Hall. I did think he was tremendous. We don't have to repeat this too much, but the 19 for 107, an additional almost 40 yards receiving, 5.6 yards per carry. That 5.6 yards per carry, Breece only had one game all of last year where he had more. It was week 6 against the Bills, I believe, and it was 6.3 yards per carry and 18 rushes for 113 yards that game. The year before, there were a couple that were better. Week 17 averaged 6.5. Week 5 was the ridiculous one against the Broncos where he had 177. And then week 1 against the Bills right off of the ACL where he seemed to be breaking a run every single time, averaged 12.7 yards per carry. We did, though, finally see, kind of removing Breece from the equation here, we did finally see how that running back rotation was going to look. Braylon Allen, it felt like there was a magnet on him for T.J. Watt to go and tackle him. 6 carries, 9 yards in the touchdown. Isaiah Davis was the third down back, 2 carries, 18 yards. The snap distribution, though, from offensive snap percentage, 58% for Hall, 31% for Allen, 12% for Isaiah Davis. I think that's probably what we're going to see. Maybe there'll be games where, Breece Hall was the hot hand against the Steelers, so the Jets continue to feed him. There's going to be times where Braylon Allen is the hot hand, and the Jets are going to feed him. And I do think you're going to see Isaiah Davis as the third down back. Davis. You're going to see him as the third down back throughout the year. But it was good to see all of those running backs get involved because rotation also with Nathaniel Hackett seemed to be a problem the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'd say for my sake, I need Braylon Allen to step it up because I went all in on him this leading up to the season, and I did that last year and it backfired because he didn't wind up playing very much. But yeah, I mean, to your point, like I don't think Braylon had the best game, but TJ Watt kind of got to him more, like you said. And we'll say Braylon Allen's touchdown run was really impressive. I think it was like 6 yards. He carried a couple guys on his back into the end zone. I do think it'll be closer. Like if Braylon Allen's running the ball better, he'll have chance. Like you said, it's interesting that they went with the hot hand because I don't know that was their intent necessarily coming into the game. But Brees was running the ball kind of like how he didn't really do that all summer. It's hard to evaluate running backs a little bit in camp because there's not full-on contact for most of the summer. But Braylon looked better than Brees in camp. Like that's just a fact. And clearly something isn't translating to the games yet for Braylon Allen that we need to see.
Jordan, this is another comment. This is why I love Jet fans. Like, you guys just had the best offensive performance that you've had in probably, I would say, the most optimistic, positive offensive performance that you believe you can build on over the last, 3 or 4 years. And his comment is, Connor, any update on Braylon Allen being Derrick Henry and Brees Hall being an XFL back? That stuff.
Yeah, any update, Connor? What's your update?
My blood boil.
What is your update?
Here's the thing, Jordan. Jordan. You were not at any of the. I can tell you were not at the number of training camp practices that I was at.
Oh boy,
you did not watch
defensive.
the preseason like I watched. You do not talk to the people like I talk to, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant or egotistical. When I make my observations, I am not pulling them out of my keister. Okay, I am watching it with my own eyes. I am talking to people that know
First butt reference of the pod.
Ton more about football than I do, a ton more about football than you do, and asking them if what I see is true, and if not, help me recalibrate my compass. Braylon Allen looked awesome throughout the summer. And guess what? Yeah, he did train and spend the entire offseason training with Derrick Henry. Brees Hall did not look that awesome in training camp. Braylon Allen looked a lot better. And guess what happened in week 1? You still had Braylon Allen bowling over Steelers to get into the end zone for a touchdown. And then when Braylon Allen wasn't having enough going because TJ Watt was chasing him down from behind, you turned to another running back who broke out and had a tremendous game. Week 2, it might be completely different. Brees Hall might be awful, and Braylon Allen might be great. And guess what? You're a Jet fan with 2 good running backs. Enjoy it, dude. Enjoy it. Don't come at me. Be happy that you have 2 good running backs. Be happy about that. That's a good thing. Don't come at my you-know-what.
Breathe, buddy. It's going to be okay. Everybody relax. You just got fired up, man. Are you okay? Are you okay, little buddy? You okay?
Yeah. Another question, Zach. That I don't. You monitor Twitter more when we're doing this than I do. Michael Palermo on YouTube as well. Just for a lot quick, is Alan Lazard getting traded? Who's going to give up anything for Alan Lazard? If Darren Muji can get a 6-pack of soda or adult beverage for Alan Lazard, I think that you guys should build a statue for him out front. That would be now. This is actually a bad example because Blake Cashman turned into a really good player, but that's like when Joe Douglas traded Blake Cashman. Oh my God, how'd they get that for it? Alan Lazard's awful. I do think there's a chance he could get cut in the coming days, but people who are oh, why was he inactive? Why was he inactive? He's wide receiver 4, and he doesn't play special teams, so that's why he was cut. Another positive that I'm sure our buddy Jordan Gold is going to find some negative about to rip me apart for. The offensive line did not have Elijah Vera Tucker, Zach, and they were still awesome. They were everything you hope to see and more. I mean, they were tremendous. These hurry quarterback hit numbers that are coming off of these guys, we were most concerned. I think you and I share this sentiment. I don't think I'm putting words in your mouth. Josh Myers, Joe Tippmann, and Armand Membu on the right side of the line was the biggest red flag for me. Those guys combined to allow 1 total hurry. No quarterback hits, no quarterback pressures. 1 total hurry from Josh Myers. That's it. And by the way, TJ Watt, the all-world unbelievable TJ Watt, played 56 defensive snaps. 54 were rushing against those groupings. He was going on that side, and they absolutely stonewall him in pass rush protection. Fashanu did allow 5 hurries, and John Simpson allowed 3 hurries. Highsmith had a really good game for the Steelers. But other than that, dude, what else you want from those guys? What else you want from the big boys?
Well, I think Membo in particular deserves his flowers because I think he played 26 pass blocking snaps and didn't give up a single pressure, and he went against TJ Watt. There's a lot of clips that have come around on Twitter showing how dominant he was in the run game. I thought Olu was really, really good in the run game on the other side. John Simpson, Olu and John Simpson on the stat sheet gave up the most pressures. I don't know how. So a lot of times it's hard to tell how accurate that is because you don't know who was assigned to a pressure, who's assigned to a pass rusher, or if a blitzer was supposed to get blocked by a running back or something like that. But the right side of the offensive line playing as well as it did. Joe Tittman played really well. I know you were very down on Joe Tittman before this week. I just want to point that out. And I
Jordan Gold, your burner.
Yeah, that was me. I sent that comment earlier, actually. But yeah, Membu playing that well in week 1 against a Steelers defense that is supposed to be really good. They're at the end of the season, if that's a bad defense and something went very, very wrong, Membu was maybe the best, most consistent offensive lineman the Jets had on Sunday. And, there was a lot of noise about him not being that good. I've heard and seen clips and podcasts where people were talking about how he didn't look good in the preseason, and he had his bumps, but I thought he looked better than any rookie offensive lineman this week in the NFL. I didn't watch all the games, but if you just go and look at the numbers, and if this is the kind of player they have this quickly, that's a home run at number 7 to get a guy like that, 21 years old. His potential is significant because of his athleticism and strength, and so he's in the top 5 of biggest reasons to be encouraged going forward.
This episode's been fun, Zach. We're wrapping up pretty soon here. Not too much more to get to. Appreciate all of the viewers, including you, Mr. Gold, for tuning in to the show, and especially anywhere you guys are watching. Facebook, absolute blast. SNY.TV, you guys are the best. X as well. But if you want to throw more hate mail to me, like Mr. Gould approves to do it, or likes to do it, the best place to do that is YouTube. The show is best viewed there because of that live chat. You guys can interact with us throughout the show. We're taking the questions, obviously, throughout the show. So once again, YouTube, SNY, Jets Final Drive, watch us there. That's the best viewing experience, better than all those other ones, even though we love all those other ones, and we love our streaming areas all the same. Let's do a little way too early preview here, Zach. Right? Jets-Bills coming up, divisional game, first one for the New York Jetsies. The line is bouncing all over the place. So it opened at 8.5 yesterday. I saw it this morning at 7.5. The Jets are underdogs everywhere. I saw it at 7.5. It's now 6.5. For our picking, we're going to go with 7.5 because our Brooke Olivia Hughes, Brookie the baby bookie, that's the line she was picking. So let's get to Brooke's pick here.
All right, Brooke. Your first pick didn't go so well. You went with the Steelers. They did not cover. They won, but they didn't cover. So now I need you to pick again. The Jets. They're 7.5-point home underdogs against the Bills. Which of those two papers are you going to pick? Hold one up, honey.
She's laying on the ground, by the way, for people who aren't watching and they're just listening. So.
Which one, Brooke? Go ahead, pick one. It is.
This cracks me up every time. She's mine, obviously, so it's going to crack me up.
Plus 7.5. That's your pick, kid? All right.
She was in a much better mood later in the day because my wife Bree and I took her to the park and she was playing on the swings. And we ended up going out to lunch where she got her mac and cheese and apple juice. Big fan of apple juice in this house right now. All right, Zach. So we're going to go with 7.5 Jets home underdogs as the line right now. Overall records: I am 0-1 because I went with the Steelers. Brooke is 0-1 because she went with the Steelers. You were 1-0 because you went with the Jets last week. 7.5-point home underdogs. Jets versus Bills. What is your pick?
I'll say the Jets get the points. Jets plus 7.5. I think they lose, but another close one, just because on one hand, again, I don't trust the Bills' defense, in terms of them being that good. But the flip side is Josh Allen. He was absolutely I got freezing cold takes yesterday because I decided to jump the gun and say, wow, the entire AFC East is about to be 0-1, and then they went on this amazing comeback at the end of the game. I pulled the reverse Connor, and Josh Allen just looked absolutely amazing. He was dropping dimes, and I know the Jets have had some success against him, but this is a different coaching staff. And Brandon Stevens, they're going to attack him. They're going to attack Michael Carter. They're going to attack the safeties. And until the Jets show they have the ability to stop it, I don't feel great about it. I don't like making predictions this earlier in the week. But I just think, I think the Jets are again going to try to run the poo out of the ball. I just need to throw a poo in here. But I think it's going to be a fun game. I have a hard time picking the Jets to win it, but Jets plus 7.5, I feel pretty good about.
Yeah, I love the Jets to cover. I don't love the Jets to win. So we're all riding the same here. There's no lone wolf. I am also taking the Jets plus 7.5. I like it at plus 6.5. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Jets are going to run the hell out of the ball. And running the hell out of the ball is going to limit the number of times that Josh Allen has the ball. And what we saw Sunday night against the Ravens are a far better team than the Jets, obviously. But that Bills defense is an issue. So I think the Jets can be able to control time of possession. Ultimately, they'll lose just because Josh Allen is so damn good. But yeah, I think Jets cover that game. Interesting thing here, and it is a notion that I do want to look at because Josh Allen has historically struggled against the Jets, specifically against Robert Saleh's defense. They've given him fits throughout his career. Not necessarily the case against Aaron Glenn's defense, though, when he was with the Detroit Lions. That's what I went back to. He's faced Glenn twice. 2-0 against him. The first battle, he went 24-42, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. The second time he played Aaron Glenn, he was 23 of 34, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So Josh Allen against Aaron Glenn has been very, very good. And I think a big reason for that is Glenn likes to pressure, Glenn likes to man up on the outside. That kind of allows Josh Allen to run the ball. And he likes to run it, he likes to throw it, he likes to take advantage of those one-on-one opportunities. So I think that's it's not the beneficial matchup we've seen in the past. Your thought?
Yeah, this is a different Jets team. I think you have to throw out how they looked against him in the past, and he did pretty well against them last year, also when the Jets were falling apart. So he scares me. Their receivers aren't as scary, but they have some speed. Like they have Josh Palmer, they have I'm blanking. Oh, Keon Coleman, who looked pretty good yesterday. And they have another one I'm blanking.
And Elijah Moore.
Shakir. And
Elijah Moore caught a pass.
And they also have Mike White on the practice squad. So,
They do. Oh, it'd be good to see
MFW.
Mike. Covering the Cowboys. Never mind, I'm not going to see Mike. Zach, that's it. We did it. Week 1's over. Fun? I think this is fun.
This is good. You got angry. I got angry at you. It's a lot of anger we're letting out. A little release.
Okay.
This is a little therapy for everybody. So we're happy to be your therapist.
On September 8th. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining this episode of Jets Final Drive. It was an absolute blast. I appreciate anywhere you guys were watching us. And you can watch this all over again on all of those platforms. You can watch it on X. Go follow SMY. Follow me, Connor_J_Hughes, Zack Blatt as well. Give us all a follow. You can find the broadcast link there on X, Facebook, like I said, SMY.TV, and YouTube, which is the place to be. If you are going to watch us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to SMY's channel, subscribe to SMY's YouTube channel. That way you can get access to all of SMY's digital content. That is Jets Final Drive. That's the Put Back with Ian Begley. That's all of our Mets content and all of that fun stuff. Interviews, clips from Honda Sports Night. Look, YouTube, SMY, it is a match made in heaven. You guys absolutely want to be there. Also, if you want more of me and more Jets digital content, guess what? We've got more coming. Jets Mailbag with me and Janae Coakley. It is going to be coming later on this week. Make sure you guys follow Janae, follow SMY, and follow myself on X. That way you can find the call for questions. So if you want your questions featured on Jets Mailbag, send tweets to me, send tweets to Janae, tweet at SMY or SMY Jets videos, all that stuff, or SMY Jets, Tweet us all. We'll get the questions. We'll include them in the episode this week. This has been Jets Final Drive for Zach. I am Connor. Jeff Goldman, who's been producing this episode, also thank you to him. We'll see you guys next week, the day after the Jets take on the Buffalo Bills. Maybe we'll have a victory to talk about.